Dear Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Bienvenue, welcome, welcome. My name is Iljan van Hardeveld. I'm the director of the Carnegie Foundation, which owns and manages the Peace Palace. I want to welcome you to the 2023 Youth Carnegie Peace Prize Award ceremony.
And I'm Natalie Gutierrez. I'm the Communications Officer at the Youth Peace Initiative. And on behalf of our organization, I want to thank you all for being here today in the ceremony, where we will recognize an outstanding organization that is very committed to the involvement of youth and international peace.
Before we start, we would like to welcome all the Excellencies, ambassadors and judges, the President of the Carnegie Foundation, Mr. Piet Hein Donner, the Mayor of The Hague, Jan van Zanen, who will join us shortly, the Chair of the Prize Committee, Ms. Elisabeth Wesseling van Gent, and our keynote speaker, Ms. Zaire Krieger, Ms. Ria Mahanta, winner of the 2021 edition. A warm welcome to all our young peace builders, students of the world class in The Hague, and last but not least, everyone that is joining us online.
We start our ceremony today with the words of welcome by Mr. Donner, President of the Carnegie Foundation Peace Palace.
Excellencies, distinguished guests, it's an honor and pleasure for me to welcome you here in the Peace Palace on behalf of the Carnegie Foundation. Thank you for joining us for the presentation of the Youth Carnegie Peace Prize. We're glad to be able to hold a regular award ceremony this year. 2 years ago, the laureate, Mrs. Ria Mahanta, couldn't join us for presentation as the world was still partially locked down at the time. We are particularly grateful to Tom Johnson, the honorary consul of the Netherlands in Pittsburgh and a member of the greater Carnegie family, who has made this award ceremony possible with a generous gift. We also welcome and want to express our thanks to our partners from the Youth Peace Initiative, an organization of young volunteers with whom we organize this Youth Prize since its beginnings. We are gathered here in the Great Hall of Justice, which serves as the main courtroom for the International Court of Justice, the principal judicial organ of the United Nations. Here, in this courtroom, parties are heard, judgments are pronounced, and advisory opinions are delivered. We are grateful for the opportunity to present the Youth Peace Prize in this hall, because justice is not just a question of courts, and peace is not only a question of justice. Courts and judicial process are our hope as an alternative to armed conflict and war. But conflicts start long before they get to the courts, and peace is lost long before conflicts erupt in violence. Peace and justice require so much more than laws and courts, as the initiatives that will be presented this afternoon will show. They require, above all, the constant attention, effort and dedication of every one of us, and particularly of younger generations. That's why I'm particularly glad that we are able to present this Peace Prize here in the Great Hall of Justice. It's a way to honor not only the laureate and other initiatives reviewed today, but to honor not only but to honor all young people all over the world who are involved in innumerable initiatives promoting justice, peace, and good neighborly relations. Young people are our surest hope for a just and peaceful world. And sadly, they are often also the first victims when peace is lost and violence starts. Antonio Guterres, Secretary General of the United Nations, once said, "One of the most meaningful aspects of my job is meeting with young people, but more important than that, listening to young people. We are delighted to be able to listen to and learn from the winners of the Youth Carnegie Peace Prize. For some reason, the award of peace prizes here in the Peace Palace takes place at a time of the year when daylight is shortening and days are darkening. A time in which we light candles, and sometimes bonfires, to chase the darkness and wait for the return of light. This year, the award of the Peace Prize takes place at a moment that not only days are darkening, the world outside seems to darken as well, with war, violence, atrocities, and the looming threat of more to come. The initiatives we are about to review, and innumerable similar initiatives everywhere in the world, are like as many candles lit to chase that looming darkness, and an expression of the spirit that it is better to light a candle than to curse the darkness. They are also an expression of hope. Hope for a coming dawn, as it is said, the night is darkest just before the coming of dawn. It's therefore altogether fitting and proper that we have this award ceremony here in the Peace Palace, as the palace itself is such a candle that was lighted in a world darkening with the growing threat of war. It was founded in a time when peace was still primarily defined by the absence of war. It resulted from that broad movement at the end of the 19th century with the aim to prevent wars by settling conflicts between states, not by arms, but through justice and judicial process. Carnegie provided the necessary funds for the establishment of the palace. The Dutch government donated the grounds, and it was built with materials and works of art donated by countries from all over the world. The palace houses two of the most prestigious international courts, the International Court of Justice and the Permanent Court of Arbitration. It has one of the largest libraries in the field of international law and is home to the Hague Academy of International Law, whose courses attract students from all around the world. The palace opened its doors in 1913, a year before the outbreak of the First World War, a war it could not prevent. But over time, it has become an icon in our search for peace and a bright candle of hope in darkening times. Maybe some or all of the initiatives presented today will become similar bright lights of hope, because peace won't be achieved by one shining light, but by the effort of many. Peace is so much more than the absence of armed conflict. It's the ability to feel secure in an orderly society. It's the absence of fear and want, and the ability to live our lives according to our deepest convictions. It is a human society in which people can live their daily life without being on the alert for threats of violence, insecurity, and physical or economic destitution, and in which people are not unduly restricted in realizing what they see as their life's fulfillment. Peace is a multifaceted thing, as the initiatives that will be presented today illustrate. Though important facets, law and justice, as they are served in this palace, are also but facets of that shining future for which we aim, peace and justice. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, upon leaving this great hall of justice after the ceremony, you will be faced with the bust of Mahatma Gandhi. Maybe his definition of peace can provide us with a practical guiding principle in these troubled times. Peace is not the absence of conflict, but the ability to cope with it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Donner. The Youth Carnegie Peace Prize aims to raise awareness of the role of the youth in peace building, to connect and provide a platform for young people working towards peace, and inspire and encourage others.
That's why this year we ask young peace builders around the world to send us a video telling us about their initiatives, how they contribute to peace, and how they involve youth. Today, we have gathered the videos of our top 10 finalists. Let's take a look.
It is easy to break down and destroy. The heroes are the ones who make peace and build. Currently, I work as the Peace and Dialogue Officer at Prabhu Dayal Kasera Charitable Trust, a national NGO. In this role, I am facilitating a peace dialogue in the Indian state of Manipur, which is marred by ethnic violence between the indigenous Kuki populations and the local Métis city folk.
Our foundation embarked upon a mind change project to provide psychological healing to traumatized victims of terrorism. Through an art competition of which 75 children were beneficiaries of this project. Seeing that one of the effects of terrorism is the increase in numbers of out-of-school children in Nigeria, she started engaging the stakeholders and government agencies through seminars and conferences to reduce this impact. So far, 50 IDP children have been restored back to school.
Pasa la Voz es un portal digital diseñado y dirigido especialmente a las víctimas del conflicto armado colombiano y a sus representantes, a los líderes y lideresas sociales y a estudiantes y profesionales en formación. Lo anterior para que estas personas puedan conocer y saber sobre cómo acceder a las herramientas y mecanismos que se han consagrado en el Sistema Integral para la Paz colombiano para defender sus derechos a la verdad, la justicia, la reparación y la no repetición en el marco de la implementación del Acuerdo de Paz, así como para hacer pedagogía de la paz.
Kumbe Kumbe is a trust that focuses on community development through art. We are towards the harmonized election and we advocate for peace in our communities. We are engaged on a program called Art for Peace Against Political Violence. These murals remind us every day that it is important to promote peace in our communities.
Realize the potential of decentralized learning and education and the impacts of technology. I promised myself that if one day I got better at coding, I will create a tool or create a platform where education is free and accessible to everyone, everywhere, regardless of their gender and circumstances. And this is how the Code Green Afghanistan was born.
Changemakers of the world established the National Youth Consensus for Peace, the first and the largest coalition of youth in Afghanistan. We work closely with the youth organizations, the government, and the international community for meaningful inclusion of youth in Afghan peace process. In fact, we mobilized over 2,000 youth across Afghanistan. We developed a national mechanism for youth inclusion in decision-making.
Más de 50 jóvenes líderes de 18 y 22 años creamos Cultivarte, una red donde por medio del arte en el dibujo, los derechos infantiles y la cultura de la paz genera un cambio de perspectiva en la vida de las niñas y niños del campo, para que con su creatividad desarrollen sus sueños y que dentro de ellos tengan presente el bien común de sus familias y comunidades. ¿Y cómo logramos esto? Diseñamos un programa bien definido con material educativo y amigable que impartimos a primarias rurales sobre cada uno de los 20 derechos que tienen.
Travaillons avec les communautés locales pour renouer encore cet espoir pour l'avenir, pour renouer encore cette confiance vis-à-vis de l'autre, vis-à-vis d'autres communautés. Et uniquement pour l'année passée, nous avons travaillé avec une centaine de jeunes qui sont sortis de forces et groupes armés pour les accompagner du point de vue psychosocial en vue de leur réintégration et leur réconciliation avec leur communauté locale dont ils étaient issus.
I created my own peace-building startup that combines technological innovation and artistic innovation to use these intersections as peace-building tools and empower young people around the world to be peace builders. The more artistic side of the project is that I invite people from all around the world, although it started with Ukraine, to send photographs of what peace is to them, and I turn these photographs into outlines of coloring pages so that other people could engage with the original.
As you can see, we received many applications with such diverse and very interesting initiatives, which made our job of choosing a finalist a very difficult one. Nonetheless, we're very confident that the organization that we have chosen will do an amazing job at being the youth ambassador to the Peace Palace. Now, let's hear from Rhea Mahanta. She was the winner of the 2021 edition of the Youth Carnegie Peace Prize. She's the founder and president of the Peace Building Project. Today, she will share with us her experience as a young peace builder and what the Peace Prize meant for her.
Good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to be back on the screen 2 years later at the Great Hall of Justice, the Peace Palace. Exactly 2 years ago, I was live streaming out of here, accepting an award on behalf of the Peace Building Project. Today, I am proud to be back, having completed my tenure as Youth Peace Ambassador of the Peace Palace and passing on the baton to the next deserving winners of the 2023 Youth Carnegie Peace Prize. But first, please allow me to express what the Peace Prize has meant for our little project. The Peace Building Project is an initiative led by volunteers from the Global South who wish to actively participate and contribute to peace processes at all strategic levels, using a combination of both academia and practice. Being a small organization with no funding, the Peace Building Project innovatively contributed to issues of human rights, climate action, education, and refugee protection, among others. We were thrilled that the jury of the Carnegie Youth Peace Prize 2021 recognized this small initiative and our multi-pronged approach. This recognition brought us to a global scale which further opened up doors to network with international peace actors and organizations working on similar causes. The Youth Peace Ambassadorship comes with responsibilities, though you do have considerable flexibility in defining how you wish to shape your role in the space and platform that you have been given. It allowed me to come to The Hague and meet with the Peacebuilding Project's partner organizations and international networks. It was a window to dip our hands into the ecosystem of international peace and justice, build alliances, and situate ourselves in our organization and our vision for the future in a global effort. I couldn't be happier that this year's award goes to an organization that is dealing with what is probably the most important cause for our generation and future generations, climate change. World's Youth for Climate Justice, I convey my heartfelt congratulations to you for winning the Carnegie Youth Peace Prize 2023. Your goal to fight for climate justice in the highest court is a noble cause and could not be better suited to fit in with the Peace Palace's motto of peace through law. Here's to your team, and you can count on the Peacebuilding Project to support you throughout your ambassadorship. To all the esteemed members of the audience, as well as those streaming in online, it has been a great honor serving as the Youth Peace Ambassador. I thank you all for your support and continue to serve my mission for international peace and security. I hope to be back in The Hague someday and contribute more to this incredible community and hub. Until then, signing out and wishing you all a very good evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Ria. The finalist compilation and Ria's experience illustrate positive examples of worldwide youth engagement for peace. It is impressive to see how youth contributes to peace building, but only some young people are in the position to advocate for peace, as many find themselves in the middle of conflicts. We are thankful that today's keynote speaker is Zaire Krieger, writer, journalist, and spoken word artist. She will recite for us a piece on international cooperation, climate justice, and the role of the youth.
Good evening. Millions of years have built fragile interactions between bees, pollinations, and photosynthesis transactions. The systems that support our very life, so complex, have grown, that collapse of which leaves the damage unknown. Our human part is to halt human greed, to seize our quick wants and safeguard our future needs. They lay their infinite plans to a finite source, and we tend our finite breaths to an infinite course. Although our hunger for justice is a fire, for drafts and deeds a water form is required. In plans and needs we want to flow ideally, 'cause fire burns out but water flows freely. And with the greatest of intentions, we move to tables of decision. With grand invention, we try to cement division, while what grows through concrete is trying to find a way. Our roots are snubbed by the routine of the day. Disillusioned, we learn that water and oil don't mix, that human lives can be reduced to geopolitics, where justice is supposed to reign, greed justifies all means. Unfortunately, we see that our water cannot wash all dishes clean. Through cloudy rivers, it becomes hard to focus, like mopping with the floor with a tap open. You are but one drop of water on a hot stove, and your once river feels like a dried up grove, where your once found spark is a vapor, and your dream of justice nothing but a stack of paper. Your once offense became a mere defender. Your activist agenda is now just a Google Calendar. But you forget that history will be kind to you. Even one drop is a step to aspire to, just as you aspired to the ones before you. Every word laid down is a flow of someone's activism. Every curve in this river is a sum of the meandering power of every speech, report, and commission, slowly chipping away at what is and carving a way for what is to be, an earth that was broken and hopefully with your efforts now in remission. A Google Meet seems less than a megaphone on the streets, but the framework on your desk safeguards their choice. So what is activism but a multilingual voice? All drops are needed, grassroots and hand-seated. So let reservations reserve our cynicism for another day. Let resolutions be resolute in paving a waterway. Let all amendments be mending our Earth's pathways. If water is plenty, let a dam set energy in motion to allow all seemingly tired drops to become an ocean. Thank you.
Thank you, Saida, for sharing your work and your art with us, and more importantly, for reminding us the need to reevaluate the ways that we're protecting the environment.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to announce the 2023 Youth Carnegie Peace Prize winner. We welcome Elisabeth Wesseling van Gent for the laudatory speech.
Excellencies, distinguished guests. Arts, education, and the environment. These were the three recurring themes in most of the applications for the 2023 Youth Carnegie Peace Prize. The jury received applications from all over the world, and I would like to introduce you to some of the finalists. We were very impressed by the work of Splendor Child Empowerment, an international foundation from Nigeria that focuses on education. Due to the activities of Boko Haram in Nigeria, schools are closed, children harmed, students abducted, and school children recruited as child soldiers. Splendor Child Empowerment uses peer-to-peer peace education as an effective strategy to engage young people in dialogue and to discourage child terrorism and child exploitation. Another finalist, Cult of Art from Mexico, focuses on the arts. This youth network believes in the children and youth communities of rural Mexico and works to generate a shift in their thinking and views. Using the arts as a launching platform, they help children and youth focus on their dreams, whilst at the same time recognizing and appreciating their communities and keeping the young away from violent gangs. All the projects we received deserve attention. All these organizations deserve support, and all individual young peace builders deserve our encouragement and utmost respect. Personally, I can tell you that it was a humbling experience to watch the more than 51 video submissions from all over the world. The initiatives, whether local, national, or international, are a vivid reflection of our world. They show not only the many current challenges and areas of conflict, but also show the practical ways young people improve their situation. The videos show a firm resolve to change things peacefully. They show hope. And how to select a winner from all these applications? The jury based the selection process on a number of different criteria, such as values and objectives, inspiration, and impact and results. The initiative should demonstrate a clear commitment to promoting and encouraging peace, conflict resolution, and a social and peaceful society. And it must have a provable impact on society. At the beginning of my speech, I mentioned the three themes recurring through the applications: art, education, and the environment. And I introduced you to two initiatives by finalists from the field of the arts and the education. Allow me now to focus on the environment. At least 1.8 billion people are currently living in countries facing significant and immediate ecological threats. According to a recently published report by the Institute for Economics and Peace, this figure will grow to 2.8 billion by 2050. That report confirms that there is a correlation between environmental protection and peace, or in other words, there is a link between global warming and the causes of conflict. The winner of the 2023 Youth Carnegie Peace Prize aims to fight climate change to foster peace. In 2019, 27 students from the Pacific Islands joined forces to raise awareness for rising sea levels and the threats to the islands like Vanuatu. Their organization, Pacific Islands Students Fighting Climate Change, received worldwide support, and very quickly a global youth movement emerged to support the activities of these young activists. This international youth movement became renowned worldwide for promoting the request for an advisory opinion from the International Court of Justice regarding states' obligations in respect of climate change. On the 29th of March 2023, the United Nations General Assembly adopted this historic resolution requesting an ICJ advisory opinion on climate justice. It is very impressive that this youth movement is advocating climate justice and fighting climate change by means of international law. They are a great example of how young people can cooperate internationally to make a difference. That the work of these young peace builders consists of well-thought-out actions and strategies based on international law is shown in their publications. Their Youth Climate Justice Handbook presents legal arguments to help parties make submissions to the ICJ and ensures that young people's voices are taken into account during the hearings. Their organization and campaigning has spread beyond the Pacific, and this youth-led movement now works in many different parts of the world. Alongside their mentioned activities, they also organize weekly discussions, such as the climate dialogues on human rights and climate change. The work of this youth organization is so fruitful due to the individual commitment of each national group in combination with so-called international fronts. That their activities have a future and are not only about a single project is shown by their involvement in other projects and their presence on the global stage, such as at the hearings of the International Tribunal for the Law of the Sea. In summary, the winner of the 2023 Youth Carnegie Peace Prize conducts in-depth research, creates awareness, and lobbies for action. These young people fight climate change by means of international law and by advocating climate justice. They are role models, and we hope that their courage and confidence will inspire young people around the world. Ladies and gentlemen, the 2023 Youth Carnegie Peace Prize goes to World's Youth for Climate Justice. And we are now going to screen their winning video.
The climate emergency poses a global threat to our peace and security. Global warming causes changes in our natural environment, leading to water scarcity and food scarcity and driving millions of people into displacement and adding tensions to already fragile contexts. Facing existential threats, a group of law students from the University of the South Pacific formed Pacific Island Students Fighting Climate Change in 2019. They had one goal: to obtain an advisory opinion from the world's highest court on climate justice and human rights, from the International Court of Justice residing here at the Peace Palace in The Hague. Young people from around the world have united with PFCC under their mission through World's Youth for Climate Justice. We have joined hands to galvanize support from our governments, and with success. In March of this year, the historic request for an advisory opinion was done by the UN General Assembly. In the historic request from the UN General Assembly, the ICJ will now hear its first case on climate change. The legal question that the UN asked focuses on human rights and climate change and is a key development under international law. States now have the opportunity to make submissions to the court. That is why we, together with PFCC and international lawyers from around the world, developed this Youth Climate Justice Handbook, which presents the best and most progressive arguments on climate justice and human rights. We call on all states, especially climate vulnerable states, to include arguments from the handbook in their submissions to the court and to make sure that young people's voices are centered during the hearings. The advisory opinion is not a silver bullet for climate action, but we do hope that our efforts and the efforts of young people around the world are inspiring you, that the next generation is standing up and taking action. Thank you for your deliberations.
Many congratulations to the World's Youth for Climate Justice for being the new youth ambassadors to the Peace Palace. The stage is yours.
To hand over the award, and again, congratulations.
Good afternoon. It's an honor to accept this prestigious prize on behalf of World's Youth for Climate Justice, and we extend our deepest appreciation to the Carnegie Foundation and the Youth Peace Initiative for selecting our submission among all the other amazing peace builders. We are truly humbled and grateful for the opportunity to further spread our campaign for worldwide climate justice, using their platforms and networks as the latest youth ambassador of the Peace Palace. The link between climate change and peace might not be the first one that comes to mind. However, it is a strong one. Consequences of climate change include an increase in extreme weather events, such as hurricanes, tornadoes, heat waves, more frequent floods, wildfires, and drought. And they can all lead to food insecurity, destruction of land and livelihood, and increased displacements, factors that all foster conflict. Despite these threats, a large gap remains between the current and the required current climate action to limit global warming. The consequences of climate change threaten current and future generations. While no one can avoid these consequences, they disproportionately affect the global south and the youth. Climate justice entails recognizing this current unequal distribution of burdens and taking action to mitigate them. In this context, young people from around the world have come together to campaign for urgent and ambitious climate action. In 2019, 27 law students of the University of the South Pacific decided to join together to persuade their national leaders to take human rights and climate change to the world's highest court, to the International Court of Justice, whose courtroom we're currently standing in. They formed the Pacific Islands Students Fighting Climate Change, PISFCC for short, and proposed their leaders to seek an advisory opinion on the issue from the International Court of Justice. An advisory opinion, shortened AO, by the ICJ is a statement which gives answers to one or more legal questions posed by organs of the United Nations or specialized agencies authorized by the UN General Assembly. An advisory opinion is non-binding, meaning it will not generate obligations for states. However, an advisory opinion from the ICJ carries great legal weight and moral authority when it comes to the interpretation of international law in courts worldwide. A request for an advisory opinion needs to be approved and supported by the United Nations and may be obtained through a majority vote in the General Assembly. Therefore, there was a crucial need for international support. While the Pacific Youth and partners tirelessly worked to galvanize support regionally, youth from around the world united in this mission under the youth-led umbrella organization World's Youth for Climate Justice, forming the global sister organization of the PISFCC. World's Youth for Climate Justice, or WICJ, campaigned together with PISFCC to request an advisory opinion from the International Court of Justice. In February of this year, Vanuatu, together with a core group of nations, tabled the resolution to ask for an ICJ AO. On the 29th of March, the United Nations General Assembly adopted the resolution by consensus unanimously, requesting the International Court of Justice for an advisory opinion to clarify the obligations of states to protect the environment from man-made emissions of greenhouse gases. As such, the AO aims to clarify the legal obligations of states under international law to protect the rights of current and future generations against the adverse effects of climate change. Now that the resolution has been adopted and the International Court of Justice has officially been asked to provide a reply to these questions, states, as well as authorized intergovernmental organizations, can make written statements to the ICJ. In these submissions, they lay out their arguments and their perspectives regarding the questions asked to the court, which the court will consequently take into account.
It is now important that countries make progressive and inclusive statements. And to support this process, we have created a handbook, the Youth Climate Justice Handbook, together with the PISFCC and a team of international lawyers. The handbook consists of 3 documents and presents the best and most progressive legal arguments on climate justice, responding specifically to the questions that are posed by the United Nations General Assembly to the International Court of Justice. The handbook is written from a youth perspective, and it explains how the law can be used as a tool to galvanize climate justice. The handbook is intended to inform states, their legal advisors, and their policymakers on the youth climate justice demands and how these can be incorporated in the submissions to the International Court of Justice. The handbook is also intended to be an example for young people and civil society organizations on their meaningful participation in policymaking. Apart from the International Court of Justice advisory opinion proceedings, we have also been working to influence other advisory proceedings around the world. Earlier this year, we were in Hamburg, where our team witnessed the oral hearings at the International Tribunal for the Law of the Sea, where they campaigned for a progressive advisory opinion from this tribunal, and where they had the opportunity to give the handbook to state representatives. Also, a team of our campaigners from Latin America and from around the world have been invited to submit 2 briefs to the Inter-American Courts of Human Rights on their advisory proceedings on climate justice. Now, while we have spoken about how climate change impacts us all, we want to emphasize that we as a youth organization know that the battle against climate change does not happen in a vacuum, and that international conflict plays an important role. Worldwide, there are many conflicts that deserve attention and that put the rights of current and future generations at risk. As an organization, we always stand for peace, and we recognize that war and conflict do not make sustainable development possible. It would be wrong for us not to care for them who cannot care about climate change, as their own safety is in jeopardy. Receiving this prize is therefore done by us with a little bit mixed emotions, since we cannot say that right now every child on this planet enjoys the same freedom or peace that we experience here, importantly right now. We therefore also want to express our deepest wish that all conflict will end today and that future conflict will be prevented. Peace, after all, is a human right. To conclude, then, global climate action has never been as important as it is today, and we urge our governments to use our Youth Climate Justice Handbook and to include young people in the advisory proceedings at the International Court of Justice. This way, we can ensure an inclusive and a progressive advisory opinion. We also hope that courts and tribunals worldwide will contribute to equity and a healthy environment for current and future generations. Finally, we want to thank from the deepest of our hearts our stubborn optimists who have brought the campaign this far, and the Pacific Island students fighting climate change, who have started this initiative and who have been incredible Pacific leaders. Without them, we would not be standing here today. Thank you also to the Republic of Vanuatu for listening to the voices of young people and for championing this global initiative. Thank you also to Dr. Margaretha Wewerinke Singh for being one of the founders of the Advisory Opinion Initiative and for recognizing the critical role that courts play. We hope that together, with our partners in this room, we can take a stand for climate justice, we can take this initiative forward and obtain a progressive and inclusive advisory opinion. Thank you very much.
So thank you, Quint and Marijn, and the rest of the world youth for climate justice. We look forward to your new projects and achievements that is still coming up.
And now, with the ceremony nearing its end, we invite Mr. Jan van Zanen, Mayor of The Hague, the International City of Peace and Justice, to give his final remarks.
Honored guests, dear students, to start with my warmest congratulations to Quint and Marijn here on stage. We just heard them and saw them. And I hope I say the name right, Aoif, Elise and Noemi in the auditorium. The presentation of the prestigious Youth Carnegie Peace Prize to World's Youth for Climate Justice is especially worthy. But more just than that, it is also an affirmation of the importance of what World Youth for Climate Justice stands for. Combating climate change, in your case, through the use of international law. This prize further underlies how important it is for young people's voices to be heard, especially on a topic directly related to the future of today's young people and generations to come. I'm a grandfather since 1 year and a half, one granddaughter, and since 6 weeks, 2. So I have a special responsibility too. Young people should be at the table, locally, nationally, and internationally. Something that was very clear at the celebration of the United Nations 75th anniversary, now more than 3 years ago. That celebration, in the midst of Corona pandemic, was of necessity held in a nearly empty Peace Palace. For that reason alone, something that will remain with me, because it was in my early days of my being mayor here in The Hague. But I remember it for another reason too. I had the pleasure of seeing the presentation of the Hague Youth Manifesto, a first and significant step towards the inclusion and involvement of young people within the UN. The manifesto included 8 demands. The 7th was specifically about climate and sustainability. I quote, "We demand an integrated and inclusive say in processes on sustainable development or any other issues related to biodiversity loss and climate crisis. In the spirit of intergenerational equity, young people should be included structurally on determining the way forward." End of quote. Good intentions, you could say. But those good intentions have indeed been turned into action, as demonstrated by the historic resolution adopted by the General Meeting of the United Nations in March of this year. A resolution in which the International Court of Justice was asked to issue an opinion on states' commitment to climate change. A milestone. A milestone reached due to the tenacity of world youth for climate justice. In addition to the prize you're receiving today from the Carnegie Foundation and Youth Peace Initiative, the City of The Hague would also like to present you with something. And it is a study grant to take a course at the Hague Academy for International Law. And it's up to you to decide which of you will use the grant. Do it peacefully, please. Once again, my warmest congratulations. Hope to meet you again somewhere in The Hague. Know that you will always be welcome here. Thank you very much and congratulations again.
So now you have 2 prizes. Well, dear Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, young peace builders and students, and everyone that has joined us online, thank you for attending the 2023 Youth Carnegie Peace Prize Award ceremony.
We hope that you had an inspiring afternoon, and now let's raise a glass to the winners of the 2023 Youth Carnegie Peace Prize, the world's youth for climate justice. Now to go to the entrance hall for some drinks and a gathering. Enjoy.
Thank you.